Good morning. Happy
Good
Friday.
morning.
So, Rachel, it's Master of the Contract Friday, and we've come across issues that pop up, and it's kind of hard because we talk about the same things a lot, but the same issues keep coming up, and you're freezing, or
Uh,
else my internet's unstable. One of the two.
uh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you, but you froze there for a minute.
Okay, good.
I said we keep
I,
talking about the same issues, but the same issues keep popping up, which means we're not getting it, right? So I'm going to share some things. Um, that need to be talked about, and this is contract related. And I'm going to drive this point home because somebody's going to get bit, and I hope it's not you, you, the audience, right? So here's an email I get, and names are anonymous, right? So I'm going to look over here to read that screen. It says, blow it up a little bit for myself. I need your advice on a situation. Real life real estate, right? I did an open house for one of our other agents, happens all the time, in an area on Sunday. I was leaving at the end of the open house. A couple pulled up and were interested in seeing the house. Does that ever happen? You're closing up the open house and that's when the freaking customer comes?
that happens every single time, especially if you've
It,
never
it's like
had
an
nobody
unwritten
through the whole
rule.
day. You may come right at the end.
Yeah, you're very hard to hear. It's like an unwritten rule. So I reopened the home and I gave them the tour. Okay. Doing an open house, showing our listing, operative word being our, it's a company listing. I spoke to them for 40 minutes. We really connected. What a great opportunity when you connect. What should you do?
You should discuss the buyer process. Treat it like it is your initial buyer
Yeah.
consultation.
Okay. The couple's from out of state. I'm going to just say, in training, so should you be. How about that? Names are anonymous. Um, Spoke to them for 40 minutes. We really connected. They're from out of state, and they said they were looking to buy a house in the area. Perfect example of what an open house should be, right? Other than they come after the hours. Um, I asked them if they were working with anyone, and they said no. Is that one of the questions we're supposed to ask when we meet somebody at open house?
If you're going to connect with them and show, so yes, but not are you working with anyone? Let's ask, have you signed a contract with anyone else to be your buyer's
Oh,
agent?
so are you saying it makes sense to ask a better question, right? Because under
100%.
today's world, working with requires a buyer agency agreement. Let's just call it what it is, right? And they said no, they're not. And this, do people sometimes get confused?
100% because agents get confused.
Correct. They asked me to send them information on other houses in the area, along with some adjacent areas. I asked if they were working with, they said no. That night, I sent them an MLS search. Okay, when you send them an MLS search, what does that imply?
That you're working with them.
That you're working with them. And under the
And if
NAR
you're working
settlement,
with them, you better have a representation agreement with them.
thank you. You guys get it. So you're the group that's not going to get burned. Um, Mr. Buyer said his wife had found a couple houses on their own. Of course they did. Everybody goes to Zillow and they can find houses on their own and would like to see them later this week. So they want us to get them in. That's a value add for us. So I started to explain the buyer broker agreement at this point, and Mr. Buyer said, well, we were working with another realtor that has shown us a few houses in one of these adjacent communities. Oh, remember we said buyers sometimes don't always tell the truth? Well, we
Right?
have been working with another agent. Now, in the past, we had this thing called da-dum,
Procuring
procuring
cause.
cause. So you got to be careful not to show the same house. But more importantly, today, what do we have to be concerned about?
Do they have another BBA?
Do they have a buyer broker? Now, we don't really care, except for we're nice, kind, caring people. If they have a BBA with somebody else and they sign one with us, screw everybody. We get paid, they get paid, the buyer gets screwed. But that's not the way we operate, right? We don't want to force somebody or encourage
100%
them
not.
to. No, definitely not. Um, oh, so I asked if they signed anything. Question number two, which we probably in hindsight should have asked at question number one, have they signed anything? They said no. So what has that agent automatically done?
She has she or
She's
he has
violated
violated
the
the NAR
rules.
settlement.
So the agent has shown them houses, but they haven't signed anything. Guys, you can't do it. And you've read the articles, I think last week or the week before, Kathleen and I did a thing about the secret mystery shoppers that are out there reporting what agents are doing. And the first fine is $1,500. And it's on you, not me, not the company. Um, and one of the houses they were looking at had to be one of our company's listings. None of that matters. None of that matters right now. I'm not sure how to proceed in this case. What, and I would appreciate your input. So what do you think my input was? I'm sure it's the same as yours.
I would say you need to actually have the buyer presentation with them and get a signed agreement, and let's go.
Okay. So let's talk about that for a minute. We don't just have a conversation, we make a presentation, right? And
Yep.
demonstrate the features, the benefits, and the value of what we do. So I'm going to not share my screen, but I'm going to switch my screen and I'm going to read something. Not that.
And guys, when you meet somebody at an open house, maybe you don't want to send everything with the written out BBA. I always have BBAs at my house when I do an open house. But you want to be sure that you have those steps so you know. And like Chris put in the chat, that's one of the things I say. How long have you been looking? Is this your
Mhm.
first time buying a house in this market?
Yeah,
And
they're
then
out of state.
sometimes they're like, well, yeah, we've never bought a house around here before. So you can clarify, right? Now, I mean, have you bought a home since the NAR settlement? Because now it requires that we contractually work with buyers the same way we've always contractually worked with sellers, right?
Yep.
Use that word contract and it makes it clear for them. And
Yep.
we
Lauren
want
said that
clarity.
conversation should have occurred with the person in the open house. If we're going to proceed
Yes,
to work with them, we need to have that conversation.
right. And you guys, you can't be afraid. I think sometimes they're scared that people aren't going to do it. You know, when you go into a retail store and say you're in Neiman Marcus and you say, "Oh, look, I don't like the way this thing is. Could you give me 25%?" You're not going to haggle with them. You're a professional. You're not going to go to a lawyer and go, "Oh, can you give me a discount?" Or, "Oh, I don't want to sign anything for you to represent me in court." You
Or if
have
you
to,
do and they say no, then you feel
right.
like, oh, at least you asked, right? It's not a big deal.
No big deal, but you have to we have to be the voice of clarity because there's a lot of confusion out there. And they've probably been to 10 open houses where nobody said that to them.
Yep.
Set
All
yourself
right.
apart as a professional. Follow that buyer process. After my open house, everybody that comes through, I thank them for coming through and I send them the little buyer preview presentation. It doesn't have the full thing, it's just a few of the pieces. You know,
Okay.
nice to meet you. Here's how I work. If you ever want to work with me, be glad to do it, right?
So this is, I wrote down, I didn't write down, I actually cheated. I went to ChatGPT and I asked some questions and it gave me some answers. And I want to really caution you on this. Take everything ChatGPT or Gronk or whatever site you're using and take it with a grain of salt because it's highly dependent on what you ask it, the answer that you get. Right. So the answers I got, I said, um, I re-asked it a bunch of different questions, bunch of different ways. And I said, would you rewrite with a strong emphasis on why it's in the buyer's best interest to sign a buyer broker agreement to guarantee their compensation? After I said, make sure you talk with any NAR settlement. So that came in. It says, why representation matters more than ever. And pay attention to these words. When you're buying a home in Florida, you deserve someone who represents you, not the seller. So, in order for that statement to be true, what has to happen? You need a
Then you
single
have to have
agency.
CBO and a single agency. Yes, yes, because in Florida, remember, guys, unless you've got a single agency sign, you are a transaction broker.
Okay, so here's ChatGPT telling us the benefit is we represent you when you sign a BBA. Bullshit. There's a transaction broker BBA. There's a single agent with consent to transition to transaction broker BBA, and there's a non-rep BBA. So which VBA are you going to use? So ChatGPT doesn't know what it's talking. What it does, it's learning, and I haven't
Mhm.
corrected it yet. But that's an important distinction. Don't go telling people sign a BBA because I can represent you unless you have a single agent. And we're not preventing you from having a single agent agreement, but I am going to tell you don't give them single agency unless they pay you 3%. And you have that strong teeth contract that says you're going to pay me 3% if you buy anything, right? And then you have to have consent to transition to transaction brokers. We do have a lot of listings in the marketplace, as is evidenced by the story I just told you. Some of the
Yeah.
houses this customer wants to see are our listings. Um,
And Autumn, yes, it's best practice to have it before you send them anything from the MLS search.
yes, because that's considered working with them. Without a signed agreement, your agent can only act as a transaction broker, providing limited service without a signed agreement. See, it's wrong again. So don't believe what ChatGPT says. Without a signed agreement, your agent can only act as a transaction. Bullshit. With a signed agreement, your agent can act as a transaction broker, providing limited service to both buyer and seller without true loyalty to either. That's what we do. That means no confidential advice, limited negotiation power, and no obligation to fight for your best deal. Not true. I mean, it is true if you're a transaction broker, but it doesn't mean you have to be a single agent in order to have a buyer broker agreement signed.
Hmm.
Then
Well,
it
you know, the
said,
thing is, Craig, we already have beautiful tools that lay this out very clearly in our buyer presentation in Moxie.
yes, we
And you
do.
guys, everybody at this point should have one saved on their phone where they could text it to somebody immediately.
100%. Okay, so I'm going to jump around this thing real quick. The NAR settlement made a big change. Sellers are no longer required or expected to automatically pay the buyer's agent commission. The consumer doesn't care, right? But they never cared before because the seller's obligation. Now it becomes their obligation. Now buyers decide who represents them and how that professional is compensated. This shift puts you, Mr. Buyer and Mrs. Buyer, in control and responsibility squarely in the hands of the buyer. By signing a BBA, you lock in your agent's commitment to serve you. It says exclusively. I'm going to say don't say that if you're a transaction broker. Two, clearly define how they'll be paid. And then ChatGPT said typically 3% of the purchase price. You need to
Oh, no,
erase
no,
that
no, no.
verb, that word from your, or that adverb from your vocabulary. Never ever say typically 3%. You can say we charge I like when you guys say my brokerage charges. Put the
Hmm.
monkey on our back. The brokerage charges 3%, and it empowers them to negotiate that fee with the seller on behalf of your behalf. Hey, Rachel, my buyer has to pay me 3%. They want to buy your house, but they can't afford to pay me 3%. So as a condition of our offer, addendum FF or GG, it has you paying my commission. You got it? I have the right to get that because I have a buyer broker agreement that has a commission that's warranted and is now
Yeah.
a condition of my buyer's offer. This is a whole new world. I wish it was this way from the beginning, but it hasn't been. So I recognize it's a change and it's a shift, but that's okay.
Mhm.
We're going to read Who Moved My Cheese. I think we're going to do it. Well, no, next week, I was talking to my daughter, Jessica, and we're going to do an episode of Real Life Real Estate called Batshit Crazy Stories. Because the more deals you do, the more crazy people you run into. There's just no way around. And there's some batshit crazy people out there. So I think we're going to do that on Monday. I'll get some input before I do it. But if not, we're going to start talking about Who Moved My Cheese. And that's a really cool little book. If you haven't read it, Google it, put it on. You like
It's an
batshit
awesome book.
crazy.
If any of my agents want to, I mean, it's only like this thick. If any of my agents want to read it, I've got it in the office. So,
Yeah. Sniff and scurry, their cheese gets moved and they're going to starve. So they got to go find new cheese. It's a great story. We'll talk about it. Why it's in your best interest to get true loyalty, secure your advocate. You guarantee professional representation. You keep control of the money. You gain transparency. All these are talking points which are covered in our Moxie presentation. So let's get off this point. But the point is, if you are, and a lot of you are holding open houses, and we've got lots of open houses to be held. And if you guys are not doing anything and you don't have deals on the books, my God, put yourself in the way of business, please. I called out a vet. She was at the meeting in Apollo Beach for the Paramount title thing yesterday. And she had her closing. Remember, she did real life real estate with me a couple weeks ago. And she's been doing like 57 open houses. and never got anything, then finally got one and ended up closing last week for $1.3 million. Yay,
Nice.
good job, right? So if you're not doing anything, do something and look at the list that your managers are sending out. We have open houses available to be held that are, and that's what this agent was commenting about. So they're there for the taking. Okay. Another email I got over the weekend, and this one was kind of fun. I got a kick out of it anyway. It was an email from me, not that one. I write myself emails, just so you know. Okay, here's a voicemail. I transcribed the voicemail. Actually, I copied it and pasted it in. Hey, Craig, I'm picking up an expired listing. Yay! It was overpriced. That's a good given, but it's also in foreclosure. Okay. It's an expired listing and it's in foreclosure. It's being
So
handled by an attorney. Okay, good. This is getting confusing. So the listing information or documents will be sent to the attorney for approval before the seller signs it. Okay, no problem there. I just wanted to know, as I've never had experience like this type of listing, is there anything special I need to know or to be aware of, or whatever you may recommend, because this is the first time I've ever experienced this type of a listing. Okay. This is why when you guys email me, I call you back, right? And I encourage everybody to do the same thing because there's so many holes missing in this story, right? That I can't give an answer because I don't know. Um, it's a foreclosure. When it's a foreclosure, by definition, it is owned by the bank.
right.
It might be a pre-foreclosure. It's in the foreclosure process. It's not currently owned by the bank, but it's going to be owned by the bank pretty soon. When the bank owns it, it's a foreclosure. It's in pre-foreclosure until the bank owns it. So you're not getting an expired listing that is a foreclosure. You're going to try to get an expired listing that's in the pre-foreclosure status. So just so we all know on the same page, pre-foreclosure, you miss a payment, you get a warning letter. You miss another payment, you get another warning letter. You miss a third payment,
And they start proceedings.
you're going to get something called a lis pendens. And a lis pendens it's a Latin word for intent to sue, right? So you get put on notice that we intend to sue you. Now, a lot of us has background in our heads about short sales, right? And a short sale came up because the house, the loan was here and the value of the house was here, and the difference was short. So if we sold the house for market value, it wasn't enough money to pay off the loan. So that was a short sale, right? Still, it was a pre-foreclosure, but the seller didn't want the lender didn't want the loan, didn't want the house back because it wasn't worth what the collateral was. The collateral wasn't worth what the debt was. In this case, the house is worth, what did I say? They owe about 150 and
And then
it's
it's
worth
worth about
about
250.
250. So there's equity in the house. So it's not a short sale.
Nope.
It's in pre-foreclosure, which means the seller's going to have the house taken away from them. Now they hired an attorney. What's that attorney doing?
He's doing delay tactics.
He's doing
But
delay
that's all he can
tactics.
do. It's not going to stop the outcome in the very end.
Yeah, you said it right. The tactic is delay. They're not going to stop it. It's going to get foreclosed on. But in the meantime, these people are living there, and instead of paying the bank, they're paying the attorney. What a gaffe for the attorney. No offense to the attorneys in the room, right? So the attorney's getting $500 a month, which is what they're paying to stall the foreclosure instead of making the mortgage payment on the 150 house. They owe 150, the loan can't be much more than $500 a month. So it's really a bad situation. Now let's talk about, so everybody knows, when you're in foreclosure, the first thing that happens is they ding your credit. So you might have had good credit. You had good credit when you got the loan, or you wouldn't have gotten the loan. Now you miss payment, your credit goes down. You miss two, it goes down further. You get a lis pendens and a foreclosure notice, it's going down. You get
Yep.
foreclosed on, you're a stigmatized borrower for the next 7 years. You have to disclose it on everything you do, and you're not going to get loaned. You're going to get higher insurance rates. It sucks. You don't want to be foreclosed on. A lot of
And
landlords won't even
uh,
rent to you because you've
I
got a
had an
foreclosure on your record. You've proven you don't make rent payments.
Yeah, I had an agent in another forum that I'm in from a different state with some of the fact that she had clients that were in that foreclosure situation. And once when it went, because they wouldn't listen in the pre-foreclosure and drop the price, it went at foreclosed, and then they had problems even finding a place to rent
Yes.
because of what it does to your credit. So,
If
if you
you're a
if you don't want to
landlord,
live in a van by the river, let this go ahead and happen, right?
yeah, you're a landlord, Rachel, and I'm a tenant, and you pull my credit, and I've proven to you that I don't make mortgage payments on the properties that I own. Am I highly likely to not make rent payments to you?
Very highly likely.
So if I got two occupants, tenant applicants, and one doesn't have a foreclosure on the record and one does, which one am I likely to take?
The one that you're likely to actually pay so you can run your business like a business.
Correct. So this is a bad situation for the seller. So the notes after the phone call um, I made for myself, I'm thinking it's a short sale, and then I found out they owe 150, it's worth about 250, so it's not a short sale. They want to list it for 263. It's already an expired listing. All right. So they wasted time. They're paying this attorney every month and they want to list it at 263. They only owe 150 and it's worth about 250. This is not the time to, pardon my words, fart around.
Mm-mm.
Sell the damn thing before you get foreclosed on and do some semblance of saving your credit. This is the advice the consumer needs, in my opinion. Right?
Right. And if it
If
expired at a 6-month listing, you are probably rapidly approaching the last bit of time that that attorney can get you. If it expired at 3, you're cut in half. You bet. Yeah. I like the way Jen, that's a saying that's very familiar, Jen. Yes.
Mhm.
So, you
So
know,
they're all
it's
they can do is
probably not going to be
delay.
worth my time and my money as a business decision to go and list it if they're not going to listen. And I'm not going to put my expense out there to market a home that I can't sell.
So I would say this house is, let's say the numbers are right. It's worth 250. They want 263. I'd put on the market at 240, sell the damn thing, get some cash in my pocket so I can put a down payment on a rental and have a place to live. But somebody's not telling them the truth and they're dancing around falsities that are going to hurt them. And this
Big
is the
time.
stuff you guys are
Big
dealing with.
time.
225. But to make the damn thing go away, they're still going to walk away with 50 or $60,000 because it's not the principal balance is owed, it's the principal balance plus the missing payments, plus the late fees and penalties, plus the legal fees now because they got lawyers writing these lis pendens agreements, plus
Yeah.
the money they paid their attorney. It's whittling away fast. But find out what the payoff is, price it accordingly, and get rid of that damn thing. And that's when
Yeah.
you take the seller and you shake them and say, "Are you out of your mind?" And whoever was their agent before you, and I don't even remember who this was. I didn't put their name in here on purpose. Um, they didn't have this conversation, and we owe it to our
Mhm.
customers. I was talking to an agent this week that they were on a listing presentation competing with three companies, right? And this is my next topic, which is a segue into the next topic.
Mhm.
Make up the number. We came in at 320. The other two companies came in at 350. But we came in with a presentation and a strategic pricing analysis that
Mhm.
demonstrated the competition what they looked like, what they were asking. And in this particular case, a house literally on the same street, a couple doors down, was closer to the 320 range. And it hasn't sold either. And that's probably the next one to sell. And when it sells, what's going to happen?
Comps are going down.
The comp is going to be recorded, and that's going to affect the sale of this property. So we went in at 320. The other two companies came in at 350, and our agent said, "I lost it. I know I lost it because we got along really well, and this is a 2 point part. We got along really well, but I didn't close for the listing. I said, let's get the pre-inspection, let's get the insurance things done, let's get all this done." And then they called for a follow-up the next day, and the seller told them about the other two agents that said they could get more. And long story short, happy ending. The seller said, "No, we're going with you because you told us the truth. We believed your
Yeah.
presentation. You demonstrated your theories and they made sense, and we need to sell." Happy ending. But the
Yep.
story in this one was the agent said, I wish I had them sign while I was there. We were getting along great. It all went well. And I said, sign it, right? You and I talked about this last night too.
Mhm.
Even if you get them to sign it, subject to approval from some third party, get it signed, get some minor point close, a commitment. This is negotiation. We've been talking more and more and more about
Mhm.
negotiation, right? If they want
Right.
to, they want to list it, they only want to pay 1.5%, sign it at 1.5%, subject to your manager approving it. And let them think they've made a commitment, that you think you got it, and then we'll coach you through to beat them up or we'll make a decision. If the house is worth $1 million and they want to sell it for 900, would we do it for 1.5%?
Probably.
Probably. I'll take $15,000 if for a no brainless sale. Now, if they want 1.2 million and it's worth 1 million, am I going to do it for 1.5%?
No.
I'll do it, whatever it is. It is. I'll put it on the MLS and hope it never sells. That's what you're going to get. So there's always an answer, right? But let's talk about that. So there's another example of real life real estate in contracts, right?
Mhm.
Um, Telling people the truth makes a difference, and in this case, it worked out well, right? So where's I going? Oh, pricing. I'm getting a lot of agents, and I hear this all the time, and Rachel, you hear it too. Rachel, I
Yeah.
don't understand. We've been on the market now for 5 months, and it's not overpriced, but it's not selling.
Yes, it is. Here it is.
By definition, right? What happens when a
Mhm.
really nice house that's priced well comes on the market?
Anything that price, well, not quite anything. There are a couple of segments that are taking a little more. Well, I suppose if you priced it
A
low enough,
nice
they would
house
sell
in
more.
good condition in a nice neighborhood.
Price right, it's going to move.
It's got a roof. It doesn't have insurance issues. All that stuff. Everything's bundled up and properly done. The
Yeah.
house sells.
I mean, you guys should be opening up your Stellar MLS every morning, looking at the area that you like to serve best, seeing what's new to market, seeing what's sold. You will see houses that are priced right. I know of 12 in our market in the last week that had bidding wars
We just did
because they
one.
priced them just below. It's not that they're not there, it's that people are pricing like it's 2021 and it's not.
No, it's not. We just had an agent. There's 3 listings on the street. They're all over $2 million in the 2.1 to 2.3 range, basically the same when you're in that price range. Ours hit the market, had 5 showings in 5 days, had multiple offers, and sold in 5 days. The other ones have been on the market for 4 or 5 months.
Hmm.
Why? It wasn't a superior location. They're on the same street. The house was a little more presentable. The seller was a little more aggressive on price. I mean, you're at that price range of house. It's costing you 10 grand a month to own that damn thing.
Hmm.
So you're going to wait for 6 months. It's been 60 grand waiting. These
Right.
things are all part of the negotiation process when we're counseling a seller to do what they do.
And predetermining whether you actually have a buyer, a seller, or a tire kicker, right?
Yeah.
Are
So
you willing to respond to the market?
let's spend the rest of our time today preempting what I'm going to ask Chris to talk about on Wednesday, right? We've lost track of the basics, and you and I talked about this last night.
Mm.
One of the basic precepts of our company from many, many years ago is something that we called the strategic pricing analysis, coined as the SPA.
Yes.
And the SPA was a really simple tool, and it had 3 categories of properties: what
Hmm.
buyers can pay, what's for sale now,
Yes.
that's fantasy land.
Hmm.
What buyers did pay, that's what actually
That's
sold,
reality.
that's reality. And then what buyers refused to pay, which were expired listings,
Mm.
right? And
Right.
what buyers refused to pay. And sometimes we substituted what refused to pay for pending sales, because that was at least a price that attracted a buyer to make an offer. We don't know what price it sold for. So
Hmm.
looking at this, so we get back to the brass tacks. And in order to do a strategic pricing analysis, the first thing you had to do was evaluate the features and benefits of your subject property.
Right. Tell the story of the house, as your dad puts
Tell
it.
the story of the house. It's got a new seawall. It's got a upgraded pool. It's got a new roof. It's got updated air conditioners. It's got a new water heater. It passed a 4-point inspection. Conversely, the water heater's old. The roof is nearing the end of its useful life. The pool's
AC is on its
pitted and
last leg.
Marside looks like crap. The boat lift and dock are trash. I mean, this is the story about the house, and the story
Right.
is what the story is. And you price it based on the story, based on if every other house available at the time is a piece of crap that's run down and not maintained, or let's take reality. It's a flooded house. You're in Shore Acres and
Hmm.
you're competing with other flooded houses that are going to probably flood again because they flood all the time. Then that's what you're competing with. So price according to that. Don't price it according to one that's got a brand new roof and a brand new water heater that's built high and dry that's not going to flood. It's not the same,
Oh, so you're saying we should actually know the market?
Well, and if you don't know the market,
Imagine
spend the time
market
to learn
knowledge.
the market, right? So that's what strategic, the word strategic pricing analysis is. It's a strategy. And it starts with understanding the asset that you're selling, right? Sometimes we scratch our heads. Why did they choose this house over this house? This one's not as nice as that one. Yeah, but this one's got a new seawall. That's a $75,000
Mhm.
thing. Oh, this one's got a new roof. That's a 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. My neighbor got a bid for their roof for $200,000, tile roof, big house.
Mhm.
200,000 bucks. They got another one for 80. But that's how bad people can be in the marketplace when people are desperate. Right. So, in closing for today, look forward to some strategic pricing analysis training with the premise of what buyers can pay, did pay, and refuse to pay, and start with the narrative, the story about the house.
And that's another good way to connect right there with your sellers, right? What drew them to that house? Be sure whatever that feature is, you include it on that spa.
Which is super cool. And I'm really looking forward to doing some more training on this myself so I can impart it to you guys. But the new thing is AI. In case you haven't heard about it, every
Mhm.
freaking email I get is, oh, we've got AI figured out. Nobody's got AI figured out. AI doesn't have AI figured out yet, but it's going to figure it out before we do. But you have the descriptions now. It used to be at what's called a linear search, right? And I love this idea because I've always been, my history has been I'm an Apollo Beach real estate broker, right? And Apollo
Mhm.
Beach is a no name. Nobody's ever heard of it. I met customers 30 years ago. I take on a boat tour. How'd you find Apollo Beach? Oh, we found it by accident. Or I found
Right.
it on Google Maps and said, that looks cool, but I don't know where it is because you think about Apollo Beach. So that was linear searching because a person from out of the area says, I want to be in Tampa. Tampa, they know Tampa. They don't know
Right.
Indian Rocks Beach. They don't know Madeira Beach. They don't know Treasure Island. Those are all cute little quaint towns with their own little nuances. They don't know them. They know Tampa. We're in Tampa, right? When you meet somebody at an airport in another city, where are you from? You say Tampa because if you say Indian Rocks Beach, they say, where the hell's that? We do it. So that's a linear search. I'm looking for a 3-2 for $300,000 in Tampa. Linear. It's going to pull up every 3-2 in Tampa for $300,000. Now, what if you said, I'm looking for a 3-bedroom home in a quiet neighborhood with a uh, gated security neighborhood with lots of trees near a golf course and within 10 minutes of a beach. There's no search criteria in our MLS that says anything like that. But now they're saying majority of searches are being done on ChatGPT or Grok or these other AI platforms instead of Google. Google's a linear search platform. You can actually search for a quiet neighborhood and a
Right.
gourmet kitchen with a Wolf appliance package. And it's going to look for properties that have a Wolf appliance package, which you can't search for in the MLS. Interesting. So the way we write our descriptions is going to change. We'll get Mike and Jimmy to do a class on that too because it's going to change everything. And then it will make suggestions. Hey, Rachel, I know you said you wanted to be in Tampa, but you said you wanted to be in a cute little town that allowed vacation rentals. There's this place called Indian Rocks Beach that might be interesting. It's a little further out of Tampa, only 30 minutes away, and it might put something in front of you from Indian Rocks Beach.
Mhm.
But you didn't ask, you asked for Tampa, and it might give you Indian Rocks Beach because you said you wanted a quaint little town near a beach. That's a whole different search criteria, right? Ooh, it's
It
going to be
is.
exciting, guys. Embrace the change. Don't hide from it. But by God, pay attention to it and learn from it and be open to it. Because they're saying now, and I'm going to talk more about this. I headed a Tom Ferry thing this week, and I'll wrap up this one up. Um, Here, take this away for you for this weekend. redo all of your bios. Your bio on Google My Business, your bio on Instagram, your bio on Facebook, because these algorithms are going to search all that shit. And if they're looking for an agent and you start saying, hey, put everything that could be attractive about you in your bio. I work for Century 21. Some people want to work with a branded company. I work for, we've been at top workplaces for 14, 15 years in a row. Put that in there.
Longevity of the company.
We've been in business for 33 years. We have the highest list price to sell price ratio of any Century 21 company in the country, in the state of Florida. That, ooh, if you're a seller, I want somebody who could sell my house for close to the asking price. We do have the highest list price to sell price rate. Those things can go into your bio now and can be searchable by an artificial intelligence source and give you more opportunities to get leads. So anyway, management team watching, start thinking about stuff like this for our future classes as they come up, because the world is changing for the benefit of us. So, okay, it is 9:36. We're a little bit over. Tend to do that all the
Happy
time.
Friday.
Thank you very much, Rachel. We spent a lot of time last night planning these things. I hope you guys got something out of today. These are real life situations that we still need to fix. And I hope we're breaking it down in a simple way to show you it is here to stay. We're not just going to hope and pray that it goes
Systems
away,
and
because it's not going away.
processes. And this company already has it laid out for you. Just follow your moxie, right?
Yep. Oh, and
Use
wait
it.
till you
It
see the
tells
new
you the
Moxie
next
coming
step
out. We're
always.
having a
So,
leadership reveal on Monday for the new Moxie Rise, and we'll have an
oh,
agent
guys, I'm
reveal.
so excited about it.
Yeah, it's going to be super cool. It's going to give you a
So
lot
many
more
cool things
options.
are coming.
All is good. All right, guys. Happy Friday. Whatever
Go
Friday
sell
means to
something.
you. Thanks, guys. Bye.